the new trailer from Master Atushi's perspective is a little bit sad. Hello, my friends, my fellow hunters, my third endearing way of addressing you. Let's break this trailer down properly, in depth and detail, and have a little nosy at everything that there is to nosy at. So before we even get to Lunagaron...
This won't take long. I sing to the moon, it sings right back. A chorus of bloodlust set to attack.
Okay, seriously, I really can't wait already to do the Sunbreak little rap intros, and I'm sorry in advance. But also, I'm not sorry. Anyway, before we even get to him, we have to look at the map, because it's easy to look at Frost Map and go Frost Islands, right? That kind of makes sense, because intuitively, why would they add a second Frost Map? Unless the massive expansion really is massive that they can duplicate biomap types. Oh, and if you guys have noticed anything, please let me know in the comments. I would love to have a good old hype theory detailed discussion with you. And if you would be so kind, please like the video if you do indeed like it, subscribe, hit the bell, it really is appreciated. And if you want to go the extra mile and actually keep us existing, keep the videos here, keep us around, supporting us on Patreon would truly mean the world. It really, really would. Thank you. Now, we have had multiple Frost maps in one game many times, of course, but it would be a little bit strange, I think, in something like Sunbreak, where we probably want as much diversity as we can get with only 5 base maps to start with. However, it might just be me being a blind moron, but I have been running around Frost Islands for quite a bit, and I am struggling to see, well, this mountain formation. Now, it might be because obviously it's an aerial perspective, and we can't quite get that high up, so things look different from the ground, but this is a big, tall mountain range, and there's only really 2 big, tall mountain ranges that you can access in the Frost Islands, and both of them are very distinctly not this. And I do think this is a mountain range you can access, because in the bottom left, it looks like there is a platform that very much looks like you can get on it, especially because it looks like there may be a small monster sat on it, that little white spludge. Either that or it's a plant, but even if it was a plant, that means you could gather it, so definitely somewhere you're supposed to be able to go, and look, I just can't find a match. So, 2 possibilities. It's tricking me, and it is just Frost Island, or it is a new frosty map to go with the new island, continent, whatever, that we're sailing to that is Rondine and her sister's homeland.
This is a royal matter.
And it does royally matter, because that, again, implies the massive is massive, but it also means that they're doing another Frost map in order to incorporate some Frost monsters that maybe wouldn't work on the current Frost Islands. Maybe it's a bigger open type area plane, maybe big enough for a certain mammoth? That's, of course, pure speculation, but as it stands right now, I am really 50-50 on whether this is actually the Frost Islands or a new little Frost area or a new Frost map. Could it even be the return of Tundra from Monster Hunter Rise? I mean, it's an ice map with lots of coniferous trees, and they are the type of trees that are on the Sunbreak Island. It's also got mountains that are closer to the profile of what we see in Lunagaron's little introduction, and it's got the caves to match his initial prowling through the dark in what looks to be cavey at the start. I mean, they do like giving us some classic maps. We got the sandy plains and such, so, and the flooded forest, in fact, so maybe it's possible. But for now, let's actually get to Lunagaron. He, of course, looks amazing, and he, of course, is an ice werewolf, well-fanged wyvern. But there is a couple things to note about him, and the first one is his claws and his jaws. His claws, then, are very much covered in blood, or at least they are red. They're also jagged, serrated. And this, to me, along with the fact that his teeth, again, very gnarly and red, well, bleed status, that makes sense. I think he's almost certainly going to be a bleeder, and that's quite a cool combination, because a monster that can give you Ice Blight also bleeding you, well, those two really go hand in hand, because you don't have your wire bugs for longer, so you can't get rid of the bleed in a safe way quickly, and that can kind of compound itself. So obviously the Ice Blight coming from the fact that he is ice, he has the kind of ice spike up that he does, which is a sort of ice armory shattery, here we go, probably his enrage, maybe a super mode, but the thing that I think is most kinda, well, about this, is he very much goes into the ice mode while howling at the moon. He climbs up to the top of the mountain because the moon is out, and there he goes it. Now obviously this might just be cinematic flair. I doubt he can actually only go super ice mode on a nighttime map when the sky is clear, though that would be a cool strong theme. Though I also think there is every chance that you only fight this guy at nighttime. If he's present on the map, it's nighttime. He might be full nocturnal, which would definitely make sense. And of course it's the fact that the moon is this purpley pink magical hue. That has to be indicative of something likely sunbreaky. We know the theme of sunbreaking is something that they really want, and I assume that would imply to moon breaking too, perhaps, or maybe this is a result of an artificial night that is sending our Lunagaron into a sort of ice frenzy. So that's quite interesting. So definitely some ice-enhanced physical attacks with some bleed. The main thing for me is, will he go bipedal at any point? Will he actually rear up and go full werewolf? Will he stand on his hind legs? And his hind legs do seem to be much thicker, much stronger, much musclier than his front. And his head shape definitely seems like it could angle forwards to look at you, especially when those ice spikes are up. If he was stood upwards looking down, aesthetically that would really work. Of course, this is complete conjecture, but I think the design of him definitely supports that possibility, especially with that big wide tail, which might literally be, as well as a, prehensile climbing tool for support when he does rear up. It might be a bit too much of a nod, but it also might very much specifically be what happens. So that's about what we got when it comes to the map and the monster, but still some nice little details. And especially the introduction even calls his ice mode his true form, so yeah, again, really hoping for a stand-up. So then we go to the Shrine Ruins, also at night, and I think of note, the moon here is more normal. It's not this purpley magical type setup that the not Frost Islands or maybe Frost Islands had, so perhaps that's not a requirement of Lunagaron, or maybe it's something altogether unrelated, but in any case, it is of course attacking us and Master Itushi, and we get saved by Rondine's sister. Which honestly amuses me to no end every single time I watch it. Firstly, of course, her armor is very much similar to Rondine's, but more battle-oriented, and it really does speak of a very knightly, shiny, metallic, proper aesthetic that's going to be probably a part of a lot of the monsters, a lot of the general look of Sunbreak sets, which is a really, really strong and cool aesthetic, and that's fantastic. The sword and shield she's using, I imagine, will be one that we can get our hands on, and it is very much gleaming. Now, if we pause on the sword itself, the hilt, how it's decorated, I have seen a few people say that this is Seregios scaling, and admittedly, it does look like Seregios scaling, but it's also clearly metallically shiny, and I think at best this is a coincidence, though it's definitely something to point out, something worth mentioning. We know what Seregios sword and shield looks like, and obviously it's not that, so it would be weird for it to randomly change design, but it is at least a neat little detail that it does look incredibly similar to Seregios scales, but maybe that is just some serious hope going on there. Other than that, this little battle scene doesn't have too much to show us, apart from the fact that is this sword and shield, her jumping while running off the spot, a free launch into the air? Is that going to be a sword and shield move in Sunbreak? Obviously you could attack, hop back, and then leap back forward, bounce off the monster, go into the air, and then shield dunk and all of that good stuff, but here she just sprints forward and leaps. And of course, again, this could be cinematic flair, but an on-demand huge leap up and over for sword and shield, that would be pretty badass, and maybe an indication of the new movement that they said they wanted to give us and are giving us in Sunbreak, so keep your eye on that. Finally then, we move to the little snippet of where we'll be going. Obviously, a lot of water, a lot of boats, so you might think, okay, are we getting anything water-based? I mean, there's no reason to think that, but at the same time, we do have a big-ass amount of water and a lot of boats, so anything's possible in that regard. The boat itself, then, is taking us to the outpost Elgado. The outpost, I imagine, may be base camp for us, but clearly not the main city of this land if it is an outpost, but even for an outpost, I mean, it's goddamn damn beautiful. If we look at it close up, you can see quite a lot going on. There is big towers gouting flame. I imagine quite an industrious city. It's set nestled around this mountainous natural fortification with the waterfall. It's got what looks to be like one hell of an anti-monster cannon in the center, so perhaps this place does get attacked. Perhaps it's got really advanced siege weaponry, and perhaps that's why they want Hammond to take a look at it and try and work out why it's not working. There's also quite the fleet of ships, so perhaps when we'll go hunting in this Sunbreak, we'll actually get a lot more of the older maps returning, just because we can get to them with this powerful, fast fleet of trading ships and such. It's a good reason to be able to go there. It kind of supports with Rondine having this network of pictures of old school maps on her board that she visits, but we've never actually got to go hunt with them, so that might be expanded more in Sunbreak, so that's quite nice to see. We also we also get the logo flag of the ship, and it is indeed not Rondine's crest specifically, so this I imagine is the general symbol for perhaps the nation in Sunbreak. Perhaps this hidden king-queen ruled land is just this is their crest, their logo, and then you have family houses like Rondine specifically. That would be quite neat. And then looking at the actual land itself, there is quite the tall, strong pine forest, like more of a cold, tundra-y wood going on, which might give us an indication of a kind of map that we'd get. Maybe that is part of the New Frost map, if this is a New Frost map, but a nice thick forest that isn't jungly, I think would actually be quite a nice map to have in Monster Hunter, and definitely something indicative of the aesthetic that they're going for in Sunbreak with this Europe-type medievally blend, so that's worth keeping an eye on. Other than that then, there's not much to really draw too much attention to. The actual island itself looks massively mountainous, which does support that the massive mountains in the Frost map might be different, but again, I will stop harping on about that because it's really, really hard to tell. In any case, then, yeah, here's a looking forward to some more fantastic reveals, more details, and just Sunbreak in general. My god. Let me know what you guys are excited for, anything you've noticed. But until we meet again, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more. Please consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. A goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.